Hey there, my name is Harris, and I'm very excited to talk to you about building contact-based block lists for Smartlead. Now today we're going to use HubSpot, and I want to talk through what are examples or sample criteria that you might want to include in a contact-based block list. I want to specifically talk about situations where you would block individual email addresses versus blocking entire domains. Now, this is going to vary based on your business, or if you're an agency, it's going to vary based on your client's requirements. We're going to use HubSpot today, and of course, I'm with Outbound Sync. Outbound Sync supports syncing HubSpot lists to Smartlead's block list. We maintain logs of that activity, and it's searchable, and you can see where things left off. Your clients can also get access to your block list. However, this is not the only way to do it. Smartlead has a great API. There's lots of ways to get data in and out of Smartlead. So what we're going to talk about today is not really specific to Outbound Sync, but just know that we try to make doing this work a little bit easier. Most of the time today is going to be focused specifically on using different properties in HubSpot to build block lists. So with that, let's get started. For starters, let's remember, again, the two types of blocking that Smartlead can do, which is individual email addresses or entire domains. And I'm actually going to do this in reverse order. What I'd recommend is starting with entire domains and what are the circumstances where you would not want to email anyone from that company. Now, it's going to seem maybe a little obvious as we go, but we're going to want to name our block list. And in our case, we're going to talk about using Outbound Sync. And this is a list of domains that we want to block from cold outreach in Smartlead. All right. Now, first thing is I recommend using an active list, which means that as new companies or contacts meet this criteria, we want to actively add them to the list and pull that from HubSpot and push it over to Smartlead. A static list is useful, but it's static and it doesn't change. And I think in this case, it's not the right tool for the job. Now let's talk about example filter criteria. So if we want to block an entire domain, a really clear example would be if we want to block customers. So we can go to contact properties in HubSpot and we can create a filter property where we've got lifecycle stage. And I think that probably customer is going to be a universally agreed upon thing that you would never want to email. But it's possible that there might be companies that have like franchise models or different divisions or business units. So this isn't universally true, but I think it's a pretty safe bet. And let's be open in our approach to cold outreach, and let's just start there with customers. So we can save that list. And in HubSpot, as we have customers inside of the database where there's contacts that meet that criteria, we'll be able to extract properties from the contact record, which could be their email domain in particular. But that's not going to be everything. So what I would recommend is also considering a company-based list in HubSpot. And a company-based list, yeah, see, so we got the same situation, but we got a similar name. So let's try this a different way. Let's just do companies. And then we'll update our last list. Domains from companies that we want to block from cold outreach in Smartlead. Again, we're using an active list. So this is a belt and suspenders approach here. The overall goal of this video is focusing on contacts, so I'm actually not going to dig into this, but I just want to mention that it's possible that companies might have a different email domain versus the website domain, and that there might be different circumstances where different ones are used. Email finding tools may use the marketing website domain, so just consider that you're going to want to go through both. And we're not going to go through a bunch of examples for companies, but I just wanted to flag that there's going to be situations where you want to do both. Okay, so now let's go back to our list. We're going to update it so it's consistent here. We're going to update the name of the list. Give me a second. I'm going to give this a refresh. All right, we've got our lists here. And then just for consistency's sake, I can't help myself. I am going to rename this and put contacts in here. Okay, let's think about some other situations where we might want to have a domain-based block list. Something that we've seen companies do, especially with the increased availability of data through tools like Ocean.io, is keeping track of competitors. Now, let's say you don't have competitors. You could go to the lifecycle stage inside of HubSpot. I'm going to jump in to the gear. I'm not going to make you wait for that. I'm going to jump into the gear. I'm going to pull that up, and I'm going to show you how to add a new lifecycle stage that we're also going to include in our block list. All right, here we are. We went to the settings menu. We went down to objects, contacts, and then lifecycle stage. So what we can do is we can create a new lifecycle stage that doesn't exist. It's like competitor. And this is something we can keep track of in HubSpot. It might be useful to know when competitors are maybe signing up for like marketing materials on our website or collateral or other types of things where they're trying to do some intel on us or signing up for demos. And we can preventatively keep track of that by having this data inside of HubSpot. So now that we've added that as a lifecycle stage, that's something we can go back to our list and add as another blocking criteria. So I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to add competitor to the contact-based criteria. And so like I said, we're going to keep it simple here. We would want to update that on the company-based list too. But now let's think about individual email address criteria. And here, let's be a little bit more strict and define more criteria where we would want to block individual contacts from getting outreach. Okay. From cold outreach in Smartlead. Great. Again, active list. Let's create this. So I think there are some really obvious ones here, right? We could again do lifecycle stage, and we could do and in this case, I think I would say we definitely don't want to email anybody who has an opportunity. And let's go further and say if they're a sales qualified lead, if they've had conversations with sales, we don't want to cold email them either. Sometimes records get messy in HubSpot, and so what I recommend is also looking at associated objects. You could look at the associated deal object, and you could see if there are any created deals that are associated with these that have associated contacts with them, and you may also block that too. So just in case the contact itself doesn't have that opportunity lifecycle stage, you can use the associated deal object to make sure that if they have a deal associated with them, we don't want to include them. And let me just move my video out of the way here. We could also add a similar thing for tickets. So in case a user maybe just signs up for our product automatically, if they have a SaaS company and they have a product-led motion and they've never been in touch with us at all, but they've signed up and maybe created a ticket or gotten access to our customer portal, we can do the same thing that we just did for deals. Okay, so now we're saying, listen, if we've got a contact inside of our CRM that has a lifecycle stage of an opportunity or they're a sales qualified lead as one set, if they have an associated deal or if they have an associated ticket, those are individuals that we'd never want to cold email that individual person, but we're leaving the door open to contacting them, potentially other people at that company. Or we can remove them from the block list down the line if we want to set unenrollment criteria, and using Smartlead's API, they can be unenrolled at a future date. I think the most important thing to remember is that we're building this as an active list so that as the data changes in our CRM, as new contacts meet this enrollment criteria, they will be dynamically pushed over. So I just want to show you briefly how Outbound Sync does this. In Outbound Sync, what you would do is you would select the list that you want to block. In this case, let's just say email address. Now you'd select the Smartlead API key, the type of blocking, and if you're an agency, you can select your client and you would start blocking, and then this would automatically push it through. This is something you can build for yourself, but if you want it done for you, we've solved for this problem. We've spent a lot of time on it. And in closing, I wanted to talk about one more thing, which is what happens when you have multiple sources. In other words, the CRM doesn't have all of the data. There are payment processors, customer support platforms, all sorts of different things like product marketing tools, even production databases for software companies that maybe have the actual end user information and it's necessarily included for them to use the product. This is a new and kind of emerging area that we're exploring and that we're talking about with other folks. So if this is something you're curious about, if you have clients where they say, hey, actually, yes, we have a CRM, but we've also got data in multiple places, I would love to know what that looks like and what you're seeing, because it's something that we think is pretty exciting. And the reason why I think all of this really matters is that if you have the right block and suppression lists, it allows your team to more confidently go out and do lead gen activities, because nothing stops momentum like emailing the wrong person and that getting on everyone's radar and everyone getting really frustrated. So in a perfect world, you would never cold email one of your customers. Hopefully you found some useful tips in here and using contact lists in HubSpot and how you want to think about company-based lists to have complementary data. Let me know what you think. We're going to be doing a lot more videos like this, and we'll be going in greater detail as we go. Thanks for watching.